The studio lights were blinding, but Emma Martinez had learned to endure worse things than bright lights. She sat in the uncomfortable chair on the set of Chicago's most popular morning show, Wake Up Windy City, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The makeup artist had done her best to cover the dark circles under Emma's eyes, but nothing could hide the exhaustion that had seeped into her bones after 3 years of working double shifts at Murphy's Diner on the South Side. Emma was 32 years old, though people often told her she looked older. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore the only decent outfit she owned, a navy blue dress she had bought at a thrift store in Pilsen for $12. Her daughter Sophia, 7 years old, was at school right now, probably coloring in her workbook, unaware that her mother was about to be on television. Across from Emma sat Derek Lawson, the show's host, with his perfect teeth and designer suit that probably cost more than Emma made in 3 months. He had that look that certain people get when they know they're untouchable, when they've never had to choose between paying the electric bill or buying groceries. His producer had reached out to Emma 2 weeks ago, saying they wanted to do a segment on single mothers making it work in Chicago. Emma had been hesitant, but they offered her $500 just to appear. $500 meant she could finally fix Sophia's winter coat, and maybe buy her those light-up sneakers she'd been asking for since September. The cameras started rolling, and Derek's smile grew even wider, though it never reached his eyes. So Emma, tell us about your situation. You're raising a daughter alone, working at a diner, living in one of Chicago's rougher neighborhoods. That must be quite the struggle. Emma nodded, trying to ignore the condescension dripping from his voice. It is challenging, yes, but Sophia is my world. Everything I do is for her. I work the morning shift from 5 to 2, then I pick her up from school, help with homework, make dinner. Some nights I go back for the evening shift if they need me. We make it work. Derek leaned back in his chair, exchanging a glance with his co-host, Amanda Chun, who sat silently with a practiced look of concern on her face. You make it work, he repeated, as if the words tasted funny in his mouth. But let's be honest here, Emma. Don't you think you're setting a poor example for your daughter? I mean, a waitress working at a greasy spoon diner, living paycheck to paycheck. Shouldn't you have made better choices? Finished college? Found a real career before having a child? The studio suddenly felt colder. Emma's throat tightened, but she forced herself to stay composed. She had expected this might get uncomfortable, but not like this. Not so quickly. I did go to college, Emma said quietly. I was studying nursing at UIC. But when I got pregnant and when Sophia's father left, I had to make different choices. I had to survive. Working at Murphy's isn't glamorous, but it's honest work. Puts food on our table. Honest work, Derek scoffed, and there were a few uncomfortable chuckles from the crew. Come on, Emma. Let's not sugarcoat this. You're barely scraping by. Your daughter is growing up in poverty because you made poor decisions. At what point do you take responsibility for the situation you've put that little girl in? Emma felt her face flush. Her fingernails dug into her palms. She could feel the cameras zooming in, capturing every moment of her humiliation. This wasn't an interview. It was an ambush. I take responsibility every single day, she said, her voice shaking slightly. Every morning when I wake up at 4:30. Every time I smile through a rude customer because I need the tips. Every night when I tuck Sophia into bed and she tells me I'm the best mom in the world, even though I couldn't afford to take her to the zoo on her birthday. Derek waved his hand dismissively. Oh, spare us the sob story. You know what I think? I think women like you have children without thinking about the consequences. You expect society to feel sorry for you, to help you out, when really you should have just made better choices. Your daughter deserves better than a mother who serves coffee for a living. The studio was dead silent. Even Amanda looked uncomfortable now, though she said nothing. Emma felt tears threatening to spill, but she refused to give Derek that satisfaction. She stood up, her legs shaky, ready to rip off her microphone and leave. The $500 wasn't worth this. Nothing was worth this. And that's when the studio doors opened. The sound echoed through the space like a gunshot. Everyone turned to look. 3 men in dark suits walked in with the kind of presence that makes a room hold its breath. They moved with purpose, with authority, with something that went beyond confidence. The security guard at the door had apparently tried to stop them, but he now stood frozen, his hands still outstretched, his face pale. The man in the center was tall, probably in his mid-40s, with graying hair slicked back and eyes that looked like they'd seen every dark corner of the world. His suit was impeccable, probably Italian, definitely expensive. There was a scar running down his left cheek, barely visible but unmistakable once you noticed it. He walked slowly, deliberately, his polished shoes clicking against the studio floor. Behind him, his two companions flanked him like shadows. One was built like a brick wall, his neck as thick as Emma's thigh. The other was leaner but somehow more dangerous looking, with cold eyes that swept the room, cataloging exits, threats, witnesses. The entire studio had gone silent. Derek's smug expression faltered, then crumbled completely. His face went white. The man in the center stopped a few feet from the interview set. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Turn off the cameras. It wasn't a request. The director, a nervous man named Paul who had been working in television for 20 years, immediately signaled to his crew. The red recording lights blinked off. The man nodded once, satisfied. He turned his attention to Emma, and his expression softened slightly. Not much, but enough that she could see something human beneath the intimidating exterior. Mrs. Martinez, I apologize for the interruption. My name is Vincent Castellano. I believe you know my mother, Rosa. Emma's mind raced. Rosa Castellano. The sweet older woman who came into Murphy's diner every Tuesday and Thursday morning, always sitting in Emma's section, always ordering the same thing. Scrambled eggs, wheat toast, and black coffee. Rosa who had kind eyes and always asked about Sophia, who left generous tips and once brought Sophia a children's book about a brave little girl. Rosa who spoke with a thick Italian accent and had told Emma stories about growing up in Sicily, about coming to America with nothing. Emma had never asked what Rosa's family did. In their neighborhood, you learned not to ask too many questions. Yes, Emma said quietly. Rosa is wonderful. She's been very kind to me and Sophia. Vincent's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. Approval, maybe. My mother called me this morning. She happened to be watching this program while having her coffee. She was quite upset by what she saw. My mother doesn't get upset easily, Mrs. Martinez. When she does, I pay attention. He turned slowly to face Derek, who looked like he wanted to disappear into his chair. The host's earlier confidence had evaporated completely. Amanda had quietly removed herself from the set, backing away toward the wall. Vincent walked closer to Derek, his movements casual but somehow menacing. He picked up the coffee mug from the desk, examined it, then set it back down with deliberate care. Derek Lawson, he said thoughtfully, son of Robert Lawson, the real estate developer. Grew up in Winnetka, went to Northwestern. Never worked a real day in your life. Everything handed to you on a silver platter. Derek's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Let me tell you something about Emma Martinez, Vincent continued, his voice low and controlled. She wakes up before dawn every day to feed strangers like you. She smiles when people treat her like she's invisible. She sacrifices everything for her daughter. That's not weakness, Mr. Lawson. That's strength you couldn't comprehend if you tried. He leaned in slightly, and Derek actually flinched. My mother is a waitress too. Did you know that? Before my father built what he built, she cleaned houses. She served food. She scraped by. And she raised me to understand that honest work is the most honorable thing a person can do. You just disrespected not only Mrs. Martinez, but my mother, and every working person in this city. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Vincent straightened up, adjusting his cuffs. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to Mrs. Martinez. On air. You're going to run a full segment honoring single mothers, particularly those in service industries. You're going to donate $50,000 to a scholarship fund for children of single parents in Chicago. And you're never going to disrespect another working person on this program again. Derek finally found his voice, though it came out as a whisper. Yes, of course. I'm so sorry, Vincent held up a hand, cutting him off. I'm not finished. Mrs. Martinez will also be compensated $10,000 for her time and distress today. And if I hear that you've retaliated against her in any way, if her name comes up negatively in any context, I will take that very personally. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Derek nodded frantically. Sweat had appeared on his forehead, despite the air conditioning. Vincent turned back to Emma, and his expression softened again. Mrs. Martinez, I apologize that you had to experience this. My mother speaks very highly of you. She says Sophia is a bright, polite little girl. That's a reflection of your parenting. Please don't let people like this make you doubt yourself. Emma didn't know what to say. Her mind was reeling. This man, this clearly dangerous man, had just defended her in a way no one ever had before. Thank you, she managed. Please tell Rosa I said thank you too. Vincent nodded once, then gestured to his companions. They turned and walked toward the exit with the same deliberate pace they'd entered with. Just before reaching the door, Vincent paused and looked back at Derek one more time. Remember what I said, Mr. Lawson. I don't make idle threats. Then they were gone, leaving behind a studio full of shocked, silent people, and Emma Martinez, a waitress from the South Side, standing in the middle of it all, wondering what had just happened to her life. The check arrived at Emma's apartment 3 days later. $10,000, just as Vincent Castellano had promised. Emma stared at it for 20 minutes, sitting at her small kitchen table in the two-bedroom apartment she shared with Sophia in Bridgeport. The check was real. The signature was real. Everything that had happened in that studio had been real. She had watched the public apology air the next morning. Derek Lawson, looking considerably humbled, had delivered a formal statement about respecting working families. The segment had gone viral. Emma's face was suddenly everywhere. On social media, on news websites, in screenshots shared thousands of times with captions like, "This is what standing up for working moms looks like," and "When karma has an Italian accent." But viral fame wasn't the same as real change. And fame came with complications Emma hadn't anticipated. The first sign of trouble came on Monday morning when she arrived at Murphy's diner for her shift. Tom Murphy, the owner, was waiting for her by the kitchen door. He was 65, had run the diner for 40 years, and had always been fair to Emma. But the expression on his face that morning made her stomach drop. "Emma, we need to talk." They went to his small office in the back, barely larger than a closet, smelling of old coffee and grease. Tom sat down heavily in his chair and rubbed his face. "I got a call this weekend from Derek Lawson's lawyers. They're claiming that what happened in that studio constituted workplace harassment and intimidation. They're threatening to investigate anyone connected to you, looking for dirt, trying to build a case that you orchestrated some kind of setup." Emma felt like the floor had disappeared beneath her. "That's insane. I didn't know Vincent Castellano was going to show up. I barely know who he is. His mother is just a regular customer who—" "I believe you," Tom interrupted. "But here's the problem. They also called the health department. Suddenly we've got inspectors scheduled for tomorrow. My liquor license is being reviewed. Someone anonymously reported that we have undocumented workers, which we don't, but now immigration is asking questions. Emma, they're coming after this place because of you." The words hit her like physical blows. Emma's hands started shaking. "Tom, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to—" Tom held up his hand. "I know you didn't, but I've got to think about my business. I've got 12 employees depending on me. I can't afford lawyers. I can't afford investigations. I'm sorry, Emma, but I have to let you go, just until this blows over." Emma couldn't breathe. The diner job was everything. It was her stability, her income, the way she kept Sophia fed and housed. The $10,000 was a blessing, but it wouldn't last forever, and no amount of money could replace steady employment. "Please," she whispered, "please don't do this. I'll talk to them. I'll fix it somehow." Tom looked genuinely pained. "There's nothing to fix. These people, they don't play fair. And Vincent Castellano, Emma, do you know who that man is?" Emma shook her head slowly. "He's connected. Organized crime. His father was Giovanni Castellano, ran half the rackets on the south side before he died. Vincent took over the family business. He's powerful, he's dangerous, and now you're associated with him. That's not something I can have in my diner. I'm sorry. Emma left Murphy's diner that morning with her final paycheck and a letter of termination. She sat in her 12-year-old Honda Civic in the parking lot and cried for the first time since the studio incident. She had thought Vincent was helping her. She hadn't realized he was marking her. The next week was a nightmare. Emma applied to 15 different restaurants and diners. Every single one turned her down. Some were polite but firm. Others were more direct. We saw what happened on TV. We can't afford that kind of attention. One manager actually said, "Lady, I don't want the mob involved with my business, and I don't want Derek Lawson's lawyers sniffing around either. You're toxic." Sophia started asking questions. "Why are you home so much now, Mommy? Why do you look so sad?" Emma tried to smile, tried to act like everything was fine, but 7-year-olds are perceptive. Sophia knew something was wrong. Emma started burning through the $10,000 faster than she'd expected. Rent was $1,500. Utilities, groceries, Sophia's after-school program, the payment plan for the dental work Sophia needed. Money disappeared like water through her fingers. 2 weeks after the studio incident, Emma's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Mrs. Martinez? This is Janet Chun from Child Protective Services." Emma's blood turned to ice. "I'm calling because we received an anonymous complaint regarding your daughter Sophia's living conditions. We're required to investigate all reports. I'll need to schedule a home visit within the next 48 hours. Emma could barely form words. "What? Who called?" "My daughter is fine. We're fine. I can't disclose the source of the complaint, ma'am. But the allegations include inadequate supervision, unstable housing, and concerning associates. We take these matters very seriously. I can come by tomorrow at 2 or Thursday at 10. Which works better for you?" Emma wanted to scream. This was Derek Lawson. It had to be. He was retaliating, using the system to destroy her because Vincent had humiliated him. But she couldn't say that. Couldn't prove it. "Tomorrow at 2, Emma said quietly. She spent that entire night cleaning an already clean apartment, making sure everything was perfect. She gathered documents. Sophia's report cards showing excellent grades, her vaccination records, pictures of them together at the park, at the library, at the free museum days. Evidence that she was a good mother. The CPS visit was humiliating. Janet Chun was professional but thorough, examining every room, asking Sophia questions while Emma waited in the hallway, her heart pounding. Sophia, confused and scared, answered honestly, "Sometimes Mommy cries. Sometimes we eat cereal for dinner. Sometimes Mommy works late and Mrs. Kowalski from next door watches me." All of it was innocent. All of it was the reality of being a single mother doing her best. But Emma could see how it might look to someone determined to find problems. Janet Chun didn't take Sophia away that day, but she did leave Emma with a case file number and a warning. "We'll be checking in regularly. Make sure you maintain stable employment and housing. Sophia's well-being is our primary concern." After she left, Emma held Sophia close and cried. Sophia cried too, not fully understanding what was happening but feeling her mother's fear. That night, after Sophia was asleep, Emma sat at her kitchen table and stared at her bank balance on her phone. She had maybe 3 months of savings left if she was incredibly careful. No job. CPS watching her. Derek Lawson's lawyers circling like sharks. And somewhere in the background, Vincent Castellano's shadow making her unemployable. She thought about calling Vincent, asking him to somehow undo what he'd done. But she didn't have his number. And what would she even say? "Thank you for defending me, but your help is destroying my life?" Instead, she opened her laptop and started searching for jobs outside Chicago, maybe in the suburbs. Maybe she could find something in Naperville or Aurora, somewhere far enough away that people hadn't seen the viral video, somewhere Derek Lawson's influence didn't reach. The next morning, Rosa Castellano came to her door. Emma hadn't seen Rosa since before the studio incident. The older woman stood in the hallway, holding a covered dish that smelled like heaven. Homemade lasagna? Emma guessed. Rosa's kind eyes were filled with concern. Emma, my dear. Vincent told me what's been happening. May I come in? Emma wanted to say no, wanted to close the door and pretend none of this had ever happened. But Rosa had always been kind to her, and Emma couldn't bring herself to be rude. They sat in Emma's small living room. Sophia was at school. Rosa set the lasagna on the coffee table and took Emma's hands. I am so sorry. Vincent, he meant well. He wanted to protect you. But sometimes, when you have power like he has, you don't realize how complicated that power makes things. Emma's voice came out harsher than she intended. Complicated? I lost my job. I can't get hired anywhere. Child Services is investigating me. Derek Lawson is trying to destroy my life. Your son made things so much worse. Rosa nodded sadly. I know. And Vincent knows too. He is trying to fix it, but these things take time. The lawyers, the TV station, they are being dealt with. But I came here to tell you something important. She squeezed Emma's hands tighter. You are not alone. I know it feels like you are. I know you think you have to fight this all by yourself. But you don't. My family, we take care of our own. And you, Emma, you are one of ours now. Emma pulled her hands away. I don't want to be part of a mob family. I just want to work. I want to raise my daughter in peace. I want my normal life back. Rosa's expression was compassionate but firm. That life is gone, my dear. The moment you appeared on that television program, the moment Vincent walked into that studio, everything changed. You can fight that reality or you can accept help. Your choice. Emma felt tears sliding down her cheeks. I don't know how to accept help. I've been on my own since Sophia was born. I don't know how to let people in. Rosa smiled gently. Then it is time to learn. Tomorrow, someone will call you about a job. A restaurant in River North, very nice place. The owner is a friend. You will work there. Good pay, good hours. And no one will bother you because they know you are under protection. Protection, Emma thought bitterly. That was just another word for ownership. But what choice did she have? She had a daughter to feed. A daughter who deserved stability and safety. Pride was a luxury Emma couldn't afford anymore. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I'll take the job. Rosa patted her hand and stood up, gathering her things. This is the right choice. You'll see. Sometimes, Emma, we have to accept help from unexpected places. That doesn't make us weak. It makes us smart. After Rosa left, Emma sat alone in her apartment, staring at the lasagna, wondering what she had just agreed to, wondering if she'd made a deal with the devil or if she'd finally found an ally in a world that had shown her nothing but cruelty. Either way, her old life was gone. And whatever came next was going to be complicated in ways she couldn't even begin to imagine. The restaurant was called Sapori, and it was nothing like Murphy's Diner. Located in River North, surrounded by art galleries and upscale boutiques, it had floor-to-ceiling windows, exposed brick walls, and tables set with actual linen napkins. Emma stood outside on her first day, wearing the same thrift store dress, feeling completely out of place. The owner, Marco Benedetti, was waiting for her inside. He was in his 50s, with a thick mustache and an apron stained with tomato sauce. He shook her hand firmly and smiled. Mrs. Martinez, welcome. Rosa speaks very highly of you. Any friend of the Castellano family is welcome here. Emma forced a smile, still uncomfortable with that association. Thank you for the opportunity. I promise I'll work hard. Marco waved his hand dismissively. I don't doubt it. Rosa doesn't recommend lazy people. Come, let me show you around. The job was different from what Emma was used to. Sapori was fine dining, not a greasy spoon. The customers were business people, tourists, couples celebrating anniversaries. The menu was in Italian. The wine list had bottles that cost more than Emma's monthly rent. But the work itself was familiar. Take orders, serve food, smile, be invisible when needed and attentive when required. The other servers were polite but distant at first. Emma could tell they knew her story, or at least some version of it. She was the woman from the viral video, the one connected to Vincent Castellano. She could see the questions in their eyes, the careful way they interacted with her. like she might explode or bring trouble. But Emma kept her head down and worked. She learned the menu, mastered the wine pairings, adapted to the faster pace and higher expectations. The tips were significantly better than at Murphy's. After her first week, she made more than she'd made in a month at the diner. Sophia noticed the change immediately. Her mother was less stressed, smiled more, could afford small luxuries like the light-up sneakers and a trip to the movies. Emma started sleeping better, stopped waking up at 3 in the morning in a panic about money. But the shadow of Vincent Castellano hung over everything. He came to Sapori on a Thursday evening, 3 weeks after Emma started. She was serving a table of 4 businessmen when Marco appeared at her elbow, his expression carefully neutral. "Mrs. Martinez, Mr. Castellano has requested your section. Table 12. Emma's stomach tightened. She'd been avoiding this moment, hoping Vincent would remain an invisible benefactor, someone she could pretend didn't exist. But here he was, seated in the corner booth with the same 2 men who had accompanied him to the studio. The brick wall and the dangerous lean one. She approached the table with her notepad, professional smile in place. "Good evening, gentlemen. Can I start you with something to drink?" Vincent looked up, and his expression was unreadable. He was wearing another expensive suit, this one charcoal gray. The scar on his cheek caught the candlelight. "Mrs. Martinez, please sit down." Emma glanced around nervously. Servers didn't sit with customers. Marco, watching from across the room, gave her a small nod. Permission granted, apparently. She slid into the booth across from Vincent, acutely aware of his companion's presence, their eyes constantly scanning the room. "I wanted to check on you," Vincent said. "Make sure the job is working out. Make sure you and Sophia are doing well." "We're fine," Emma said carefully. "The job is great. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate what you did in the studio, even though it made things complicated." Vincent leaned back, studying her. "I heard about the complications. Derek Lawson's retaliation, the CPS visit, your previous employer letting you go. I'm handling it." Emma's spine stiffened. "What does that mean, you're handling it?" "It means Derek Lawson's lawyers have been convinced to back off. It means the CPS case has been closed due to lack of evidence. It means you can focus on your daughter and your work without looking over your shoulder." Emma should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt trapped. "Why are you doing this? I don't understand. Your mother is a nice lady, but we barely know each other. Why am I worth all this trouble?" Vincent was quiet for a moment. His companions had stopped scanning the room and were watching him, seemingly surprised by the question. "My mother sees something in you," Vincent finally said. "She believes you're genuine. Good. In my world, Mrs. Martinez, those qualities are rare. When my mother asks me for something, I don't refuse. She asked me to make sure you and your daughter are protected. So that's what I'm doing." Emma shook her head slowly. "But I don't want to owe you anything. I don't want to be part of whatever world you live in. I just want a normal life." Vincent's expression hardened slightly. "Normal life. You want to know what normal life was getting you? Harassment on national television. Losing your job. Watching your daughter grow up wondering why her mother is always exhausted and scared. That's normal for people like us, Mrs. Martinez. People who weren't born with money and connections. Normal is a rigged game." He leaned forward, his voice dropping lower. "I'm offering you something different. Not ownership. Not obligation. Just protection. You work here, you take care of Sophia, you live your life. No one bothers you. No one disrespects you. And in return, all I ask is that if I ever need someone I can trust, someone honest in a world full of liars, you'll answer the phone." Emma met his gaze, trying to understand what he was really asking. "And if I say no?" Vincent smiled slightly, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Then you say no. I don't force people, Mrs. Martinez. My father did things that way. I prefer a different approach. But I will tell you this. The world isn't kind to people without protection. You learned that the hard way. I'm offering you a shield. What you do with it is your choice." Emma thought about Sophia, about the apartment they could finally afford to heat properly, about the job that paid enough to save a little each month. about sleeping through the night without panic attacks, about CPS closing their investigation. She thought about Derek Lawson and people like him, people who could destroy lives on a whim because they had power and no consequences. If you're torsendo for Emma right now, hoping she makes the right choice, take a moment and subscribe to the channel, because what happens next is going to change everything for her. Emma took a deep breath. Okay, I'll answer the phone, but I need you to promise me something. Vincent raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Sophia can never be involved in whatever you do. She goes to good schools, she has a normal childhood. She never knows about any of this. She thinks her mom just works at a nice restaurant. Can you promise me that? Vincent nodded immediately. You have my word. Sophia stays innocent. That's not negotiable. Emma extended her hand across the table. Vincent took it and they shook. His grip was firm, his hands surprisingly rough for someone who wore such expensive suits. Then we have an agreement, Emma said. She stood up, smoothed her apron, and picked up her notepad again. Now, what can I get you gentlemen for dinner? The osso buco is excellent tonight. The brick wall companion actually smiled. The lean one looked impressed. Vincent ordered for all of them, and Emma went to put in their order, her hands shaking slightly. She had just made a deal with a mob boss. She should have felt terrified. Instead, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Protected. Over the next few weeks, subtle changes began happening in Emma's life. The landlord who had been threatening to raise her rent suddenly decided to keep it the same. Sophia's school, which had been cutting programs due to budget issues, received an anonymous donation that restored the art and music classes. The old Honda Civic that had been making concerning noises got mysteriously fixed one night while Emma was sleeping, with a note on the windshield. Maintenance courtesy of Sapori management. Emma knew these weren't coincidences. She knew Vincent was orchestrating everything from the shadows. Part of her wanted to be angry about it, about having her life managed. But another part of her, the exhausted single mother who had been drowning for 3 years, was grateful. Rosa continued to visit Sapori every Tuesday and Thursday, always sitting in Emma's section. They would talk about Sophia, about Rosa's grandchildren, about recipes and neighborhood gossip. Rosa never mentioned Vincent's business, and Emma never asked. They existed in a comfortable bubble of normalcy, two women who understood what it meant to survive. One evening, as Emma was closing out her register, Marco called her into his office. Mrs. Martinez, you've been here almost 2 months now. You're one of my best servers. Tips are good? Emma nodded. Tips were very good. Better than she dared hope. I want to offer you something, Marco continued. Day shift, Wednesday through Sunday. Better hours for a mother. Base pay increase. You've earned it. Emma felt tears prick her eyes. Day shift meant she could pick Sophia up from school every day. Meant no more evening babysitters. Meant actual time with her daughter. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. Marco smiled. Thank Vincent. This was his idea. But you did the work to deserve it. Remember that. That night, Emma tucked Sophia into bed in their small apartment that finally felt like a home. Sophia was talking excitedly about her day, about the art class that had been restored, about her teacher saying she had real talent for painting. Mommy, Sophia said sleepily. Are we going to be okay now? Emma smoothed her daughter's hair back from her forehead. Yes, baby. We're going to be okay. And for the first time in 3 years, Emma actually believed it. She had made a deal with the devil, maybe, but sometimes the devil protects his own. And right now, Emma and Sophia were under that protection. The question was, what would Vincent Castellano eventually ask in return? Emma fell asleep that night with that question unanswered, but with a peace she hadn't felt in years. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. But tonight, she and Sophia were safe, warm, and together. That was enough. 6 months passed, and Emma's life transformed in ways she couldn't have imagined. The day shift at Sapori allowed her to be present for Sophia in ways that mattered. School pickups, helping with homework at the kitchen table, cooking actual dinners instead of grabbing whatever was quick and cheap. Sophia was thriving, her grades excellent, her confidence growing. Emma had paid off her credit card debt. She had money in savings. She could afford Sophia's birthday party at the indoor trampoline park, complete with pizza and cake for 12 kids. When Sophia blew out her candles and looked at Emma with pure joy, Emma felt something she'd almost forgotten: pride in herself. But the call she'd been waiting for finally came on a cold February morning. Emma's phone rang while she was getting Sophia ready for school. Unknown number. She answered, her stomach already tensing. "Mrs. Martinez, it's Vincent. I need to ask you for something." Emma's hand tightened on the phone. This was it. The payment for 6 months of protection and stability. "What do you need?" "There's a woman. Her name is Patricia Coleman. She's a federal prosecutor building a case against some associates of mine. She's been threatened, and she has a 10-year-old daughter. She needs somewhere safe to stay for a few days, somewhere no one would think to look. I was hoping she could stay with you." Emma's mind raced. Harboring a witness was serious, dangerous, possibly illegal depending on the circumstances. "Vincent, I have Sophia to think about. If someone comes looking for this woman, they won't," Vincent interrupted. "No one knows about you except my inner circle. Your apartment is off the grid, and I'll have protection watching your building 24/7. Patricia just needs 3 days. Then she'll be relocated properly. She's terrified, Emma. Her daughter is terrified. I'm asking you, one parent to another, to help." Emma closed her eyes. She thought about the studio, about Derek Lawson humiliating her, about Vincent walking in and changing everything. She thought about every kindness that had been extended to her over the past 6 months. "Okay, 3 days. But the first sign of trouble, I'm calling the police." "Understood. Thank you, Emma. I'll send them over tonight." Patricia Coleman arrived at 8 that evening with her daughter Lily. Patricia was 38, African American, with intelligent eyes that looked exhausted and haunted. Lily was small for 10, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit, looking terrified. Emma had prepared the couch with blankets and pillows. Sophia was already in bed, though she'd been told they were having guests and to be polite. "Thank you for this," Patricia said quietly, her voice shaking. "I know this is asking a lot from a stranger." Emma led them inside, locking the door behind them. "I've been scared too. I understand. You're safe here." Over the next 3 days, Emma learned Patricia's story. She was prosecuting a corruption case involving city officials and organized crime figures. Not Vincent's organization, but a rival family. She'd received death threats. Someone had followed Lily home from school. Patricia's ex-husband had refused to help, claiming she'd brought it on herself by being too ambitious. The two women bonded over late-night coffee while their daughters slept. They were both single mothers, both fighting systems designed to keep them down, both terrified of failing their children. On the second night, Patricia asked Emma something unexpected. "How did you meet Vincent Castellano? You don't seem like someone who runs in those circles." Emma told her the whole story. The studio, Derek Lawson, Rosa, the job at Sapori. Patricia listened carefully, her prosecutor mind analyzing every detail. "So he's protecting you because his mother likes you?" Emma shrugged. "That's what he says. Sometimes I think there's more to it. Like maybe he sees something of his mother in me. Someone just trying to survive." Patricia was quiet for a moment. "Vincent Castellano has a reputation. He's not like the other family bosses. He's strategic, careful. Doesn't deal in drugs or human trafficking. Mostly financial crimes, legitimate businesses with illegal underpinnings. The FBI has been trying to build a case against him for years. But he's clean. Or at least he appears clean." Emma felt defensive suddenly. "He's been good to me and Sophia. Whatever else he is, he kept his word." Patricia nodded. "I'm not judging. In your position, I might have done the same thing. We all do what we have to do to protect our children. That's not weakness. That's love." On the third day, Vincent called Emma. "There's been a complication. Patricia's ex-husband told someone about her case. They know she's missing. They're looking for her. I need you to bring her and Lily to a different location." Emma's blood ran cold. "You said we'd be safe. You said 3 days and then she'd be relocated. Plans changed. I'm sending a car in 30 minutes. Pack light. You'll all be safe, I promise." "Vincent, I can't leave. Sophia has school. I have work. I can't just disappear. 2 hours, Emma. That's all I'm asking. Bring Patricia and Lily to the address I'm texting you. Then you and Sophia go home. But I need you to do this. Please. Emma looked at Patricia and Lily huddled on her couch. She thought about what it meant to be hunted, to be scared for your child. Okay. 2 hours. The address Vincent sent was a warehouse in an industrial area near the Chicago River. Emma drove her Honda with Patricia in the passenger seat, both daughters in the back. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. When they arrived, Vincent was waiting outside with 4 men Emma didn't recognize. All armed. All scanning the street with practiced vigilance. Vincent opened the car door for Patricia. Ms. Coleman, there's a safe house ready for you upstairs. Federal marshals will pick you up in 3 hours. You'll be in witness protection by morning. Patricia got out slowly, holding Lily's hand. She looked back at Emma. Thank you. For everything. Emma nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Vincent leaned down to Emma's window. Go home. Forget this address. You were never here. Emma was about to drive away when headlights suddenly flooded the street. 3 black SUVs came screeching around the corner, blocking the exit. Men poured out, all carrying weapons. Vincent moved instantly, shoving Patricia and Lily behind him, shouting orders to his men. Emma's instinct was to drive forward, to escape, but Sophia was in the car. She couldn't risk a chase with her daughter inside. One of the men from the SUVs stepped forward. He was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and a face like carved stone. He held a gun casually, pointed at the ground, but the threat was clear. Vincent Castellano. Heard you were harboring my prosecutor. That's disappointing. We had an understanding about staying out of each other's business. Vincent's voice was calm, controlled. Frank, this isn't your concern. The woman is under federal protection. Touching her brings heat neither of us can afford. Frank smiled without humor. She's been building a case against my operations for 2 years. She's very much my concern. Hand her over and we all go home tonight. Vincent didn't move. That's not happening. The tension was suffocating. Emma sat frozen in her car, Sophia whimpering in the back seat. She should have driven away the moment the SUVs appeared. She should have protected her daughter above everything else. But now they were trapped. Frank's eyes shifted to Emma's car. He walked over slowly, and Emma's heart stopped. He looked through the window at Sophia, then back at Emma. Who's this? Your girlfriend and kid? Vinny? Getting soft in your old age? Vincent's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. Innocent bystanders. Wrong place, wrong time. Let them leave. Frank tapped on Emma's window with the barrel of his gun. Emma's entire body was shaking. She reached back and gripped Sophia's hand. Get out of the car, Frank said. Emma looked at Vincent. He gave the slightest shake of his head. Don't. But Frank opened the door himself, grabbing Emma's arm and pulling her out roughly. Sophia screamed. Emma tried to reach back for her daughter, but Frank held her tight. Here's what's going to happen, Frank announced loudly. Vincent, you're going to hand over Patricia Coleman. And this lady here is going to keep her mouth shut about everything she saw tonight. Because if she doesn't, if she goes to the cops, if she testifies about anything, I'll know. And I'll remember she has a daughter. Emma felt nauseous. This was her nightmare. This was every fear she'd ever had about getting involved with Vincent's world. Vincent's expression had gone ice cold. The charming, protective man who had defended her in the studio was gone. This was the mob boss, the man who had built an empire on calculated violence. Frank, Vincent said quietly, you just made a mistake. He moved faster than Emma thought possible. One of his men threw him a gun and Vincent fired twice. Not at Frank, but at the tires of the nearest SUV. Chaos erupted. Frank's men scattered, returning fire. Vincent's men formed a protective barrier around Patricia, Lily, and Emma. Vincent grabbed Emma and shoved her back toward her car. Drive. Get Sophia out of here. Now. Emma didn't hesitate. She threw herself into the driver's seat, jammed the key in the ignition, and reversed wildly. Bullets hit the pavement around her. She heard glass shatter. But she kept driving, zigzagging through the warehouse district, Sophia crying in the back seat. She drove for 20 minutes, taking random turns, making sure no one was following. Finally, she pulled into a 24-hour grocery store parking lot. Her entire body shaking so hard she could barely unbuckle her seatbelt. She climbed into the back seat and pulled Sophia into her arms, both of them crying, holding each other. "Mommy, what's happening? Why were those men shooting?" Emma couldn't answer. She just held her daughter and cried, realizing that the protection Vincent offered came with a price she hadn't fully understood until tonight. Her phone buzzed. Text from Vincent. "Everyone's safe. Frank is handled. Go home." "I'm sorry." Emma stared at the message. Sorry wasn't enough. Sorry didn't erase the trauma. Sorry didn't change the fact that Sophia had just witnessed a gunfight. But as Emma drove home through the empty Chicago streets, she realized something else. Vincent had protected them. When it mattered most, when Frank had threatened Sophia, Vincent had acted without hesitation. The question now was whether Emma could live in this world Vincent inhabited. Whether the safety he provided was worth the danger that came with it. She pulled into her apartment parking lot and carried a sleeping Sophia upstairs. Tomorrow she would figure out what to do. Tonight, she just needed to hold her daughter and be grateful they were both alive. Emma didn't sleep that night. She sat in Sophia's doorway, watching her daughter's chest rise and fall, replaying the gunfire, the terror in Sophia's eyes, the casual way Frank had threatened them. Every car that passed on the street below made her jump. Every creak in the building sent her heart racing. At 6 a.m, there was a knock on her door. Emma looked through the peephole, her breath catching. It was Vincent, alone, looking exhausted. No expensive suit this time, just jeans and a leather jacket. He had a cut above his eyebrow, and his knuckles were bruised. Emma opened the door but didn't invite him in. "Is she okay?" Vincent asked immediately. "She's sleeping. She cried for an hour. She asked me if we were going to die." Vincent flinched like she'd slapped him. "Emma, I'm sorry. I never intended for you to be in danger." Frank crossed a line. "He won't be crossing any more lines." Emma's voice was cold. "What does that mean? Is he dead?" Vincent met her eyes steadily. "He's not your concern anymore. Neither are his associates. The threat is gone." Emma felt sick. She'd suspected what Vincent was capable of, but having it confirmed was different. "I can't do this. Whatever arrangement we had, it's over. Sophia and I are leaving Chicago. We'll go somewhere you can't find us, somewhere your world can't touch us." Vincent didn't argue. He just nodded slowly. "I understand. If that's what you need to feel safe, I won't stop you. But let me say something first." Emma crossed her arms, waiting. "What happened last night should never have happened. I miscalculated. I thought I could keep two worlds separate. My business and the people I protect. But Frank found a connection and he exploited it. That's on me. However, you need to understand something, Emma. Men like Frank exist everywhere. They're in Chicago, New York, Miami, small towns in Montana. They wear different faces. Sometimes they're gang members. Sometimes they're corrupt cops or businessmen or politicians. Derek Lawson was one of them, just with a television camera instead. Emma's jaw tightened. "So what are you saying? That I can never be safe?" "I'm saying that safety is an illusion, but protection is real. You can run to another city and hope men like Frank never notice you. Or you can stay here where I can make sure they don't." Emma shook her head. "You're asking me to gamble with my daughter's life." "No," Vincent said firmly. "I'm asking you to trust that I learned from last night. That I won't make the same mistake twice." "Emma, do you know what happened after you left?" She didn't answer. Frank put a gun to Patricia Coleman's head. He was going to execute her and her daughter right there in that warehouse. I stopped him. My men stopped him. Patricia and Lily are safe in witness protection right now because we held that line. You helped save their lives. Emma felt tears burning her eyes. I didn't ask to be a hero. I just wanted to serve food and raise my daughter. Vincent's expression softened. I know, but sometimes life doesn't give us those choices. You're stronger than you think. Emma, you survived Derek Lawson. You survived 3 years alone. You survived last night. Sophia survived because you kept your head and got her out. That's not weakness. That's the kind of strength most people never find. Emma was silent for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. If I stay, things have to change. No more situations like last night. Sophia never sees that world. I don't care about your protection if it puts her in danger. Vincent nodded immediately. Agreed. You go back to your normal life. Work at Sapori. Raise Sophia. Forget I exist except as Rosa's son who occasionally eats dinner in your section. The connection between us stays invisible. No one knows. No one can exploit it. And Patricia? What happens to her case? She'll testify. My people are cooperating with the feds on this one. Frank's organization is finished. Sometimes, Emma, the right thing to do is also the smart thing to do. Frank was bad for business. He brought unnecessary attention. Helping Patricia helps me. Everyone wins. Emma studied his face, looking for deception, for manipulation. But all she saw was exhaustion and something that looked like genuine regret. One more thing, she said. Rosa doesn't know about last night. Does she? Vincent shook his head. My mother thinks you're a nice waitress who's good to her. That's all she needs to know. She'd be furious if she knew I put you in danger. Keep it that way. Rosa is the only thing about your family that's purely good. Don't ruin that. Vincent smiled slightly. You sound like her. That's exactly what she would say. He turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Emma, you remind me of my mother when she was younger. Before my father died. She had that same fire, that same determination to protect her children no matter what. She would have burned the world down for me and my sister. I see that in you. Emma didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. Vincent left, his footsteps echoing down the hallway, and Emma closed the door, locking it behind him. She went to Sophia's room and lay down beside her daughter, wrapping her arms around the small, sleeping form. Whatever happened next, whatever choices she made, Sophia would always be her priority. Everything else was negotiable. The next few weeks were surprisingly normal. Emma returned to work at Sapori. Marco asked no questions about her brief absence. The other servers treated her the same as always. Rosa came for her Tuesday and Thursday meals, chatting pleasantly about her garden and her grandchildren, never mentioning Vincent except to say he'd enjoyed the Ossobuco last time he visited. Sophia slowly recovered from the trauma of that night. Emma took her to a child therapist, paying out of pocket, telling the therapist they'd witnessed a car accident. The nightmares gradually faded. Sophia started smiling again, laughing with her friends at school, focusing on her artwork. Emma received a letter one morning with no return address. Inside was a cashier's check for $50,000 and a handwritten note. For Sophia's future. College fund. No strings attached. Emma stared at the check for a long time. This was blood money, earned from activities she didn't want to think about. But it was also Sophia's ticket to a better life. A state school education fully paid for. The chance to become anything she wanted without drowning in student debt. Emma deposited the check into a separate account, one she labeled Sophia's education fund. She told herself she was being pragmatic. She told herself Sophia's future was worth compromising her principles. She told herself a lot of things that helped her sleep at night. 3 months after the warehouse incident, Derek Lawson's show was canceled. The official reason was declining ratings, but Emma read between the lines. Vincent had promised Derek would never disrespect another working person on television. Vincent kept his promises. Emma saw a brief news story about Derek moving to a smaller market in Nevada, his career effectively destroyed. She felt no satisfaction, only a tired kind of justice. Derek had learned that actions have consequences. So had she. One evening in early summer, Emma was closing out her register when Marco called her into his office again. She tensed, wondering what was coming now. Mrs. Martinez, I want to offer you a management position. Assistant manager, actually. Salary, benefits, the works. You've proven yourself over the past year. You're reliable, you're good with customers, you're honest. Those qualities are rare in this business. Emma was speechless. Management meant stability, career advancement, respect. It meant she could provide for Sophia not just adequately, but well. I don't know what to say. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Marco smiled. Good. You start in 2 weeks. We'll train you on inventory, scheduling, the business side of things. You've got potential, Emma. Real potential. After work, Emma walked through the summer evening to the park where she sometimes took Sophia. She sat on a bench and watched the sunset paint the Chicago skyline in shades of gold and orange. Her phone buzzed. Text from Rosa. Heard about the promotion. So proud of you. You've come so far. Emma smiled. She had come far. From humiliation on national television to assistant manager at a respected restaurant. From drowning in bills to having savings and a college fund for her daughter. From terrified and alone to protected and stable. The cost of that journey sat heavy in her chest. She'd made compromises. She'd accepted help from a dangerous man. She'd witnessed violence. She'd become complicit in a world she'd never wanted to be part of. But Sophia was safe. Sophia was happy. Sophia was thriving. And in the end, wasn't that what mattered? Wasn't that what every mother sacrificed for? Emma pulled out her phone and texted Vincent for the first time since the warehouse. Just 2 words. Thank you. His response came immediately. You earned it. All of it. Be proud of yourself. Emma looked at those words for a long time. Then she deleted the conversation, stood up, and walked home to her daughter. Tomorrow she would pick up Sophia from her summer art program. They'd make dinner together, probably pasta because Sophia was going through an Italian food phase thanks to spending so much time at Sapori. They'd watch a movie, laugh together, be normal. And that normalcy, that peace, that safety, it was worth everything she'd been through. Emma finally understood what Vincent had meant when he said protection was real even if safety was an illusion. She'd stopped waiting for the other shoe to drop and started living in the moment. The nightmare was over. The healing had begun. And Emma Martinez, once humiliated on national television, once desperate and drowning, was finally, truly, okay. She was more than okay. She was free. 5 years later, Emma stood in the doorway of Sapori, but not as a server anymore. She was the general manager now, overseeing a staff of 32 people, managing inventory worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, making decisions that affected the livelihood of dozens of families. She wore a tailored pantsuit, her hair styled professionally, her posture confident in a way that would have seemed impossible to the broken woman who had sat in that television studio years ago. It was a Tuesday evening, which meant Rosa would be arriving any minute for her usual table. Some things never changed, and Emma was grateful for that consistency. Rosa was 78 now, moving a little slower, her hair completely silver, but her eyes still sharp and kind. Emma watched Rosa arrive, helped by Vincent, who had started accompanying his mother to dinner more frequently over the past year. Vincent was 50 now, with more gray in his hair, lines around his eyes that spoke of stress and responsibility. He'd never married, never had children of his own. Rosa worried about that constantly. Mrs. Castellano, Mr. Castellano, welcome, Emma said warmly, leading them to their usual corner table. Emma, please, Rosa said with affectionate exasperation. After 5 years, you can call me Rosa. We're family. Emma smiled. Family. It was a word that had taken on new meaning over the years. Not blood family, but chosen family. The kind built on loyalty, respect, and shared history. How is Sophia? Rosa asked as she settled into her seat. Still planning for college in the fall? Emma's face lit up the way it always did when she talked about her daughter. She's excited and terrified. Northwestern accepted her into their art program. Full scholarship thanks to her portfolio and her essay. She's going to be living in Evanston, studying painting and art history. Vincent smiled, a genuine expression that few people ever saw from him. Northwestern. That's impressive. You must be proud. I am. Emma's voice caught slightly. Sometimes I can't believe we made it here. From that tiny apartment in Bridgeport, counting pennies for groceries, to this. To her having every opportunity one never had. Rosa reached across the table and squeezed Emma's hand. You made it here because you never gave up. Because you fought for her every single day. That's love, my dear. That's what mothers do. After taking their orders and ensuring they were comfortable, Emma returned to her office in the back of the restaurant. She had paperwork to review, schedules to approve, supplier invoices to process. Her life was busy, demanding, fulfilling in ways she'd never imagined possible. Her phone buzzed. Text from Sophia. Mom, can we talk when you get home? It's important. Emma felt the familiar flutter of maternal concern but pushed it down. Sophia was responsible, level-headed. Whatever it was, they would handle it together. When Emma arrived home that night, it wasn't to the cramped two-bedroom apartment in Bridgeport. 3 years ago, with her management salary and careful savings, she'd been able to move them to a modest 3-bedroom house in Beverly, a quiet neighborhood on the south side with good schools and tree-lined streets. It had a small backyard where Emma grew tomatoes in the summer, and Sophia had converted the garage into an art studio. Sophia was waiting in the living room, looking nervous. At 17, she looked so much like Emma had at that age. Dark hair, serious eyes, determined chin. But Sophia had a confidence Emma had never possessed at that age, a sense of self-worth that came from growing up loved and supported. What's going on, sweetheart? Emma asked, sitting beside her daughter on the couch. Sophia took a deep breath. I got an email today from a gallery in River North. They want to feature my work in a group exhibition for emerging young artists. It's a huge opportunity, Mom, but there's something weird about it. Emma's maternal instincts went on alert. Weird how? The gallery owner mentioned that he'd heard about me through Vincent Castellano, that Mr. Castellano had recommended my work and thought I had real talent. Emma went very still. She and Vincent had an unspoken agreement that Sophia would never be directly involved in his world. Yet here he was crossing that line. What did you tell them? I said I needed to think about it. Mom, I need you to be honest with me about something. What exactly is your relationship with Vincent Castellano? I know he's Rose's son. I know he eats at Sapori. But there's more, isn't there? I'm not a child anymore. I've pieced things together over the years. Emma had dreaded this conversation but also known it was inevitable. Sophia was too smart, too observant to remain in the dark forever. What have you pieced together? Sophia chose her words carefully. I remember that night when I was 7. The gunshots, the way you were terrified for weeks afterward. I remember Vincent showing up at our old apartment the next morning. I remember you suddenly having more money, better jobs, opportunities that seemed to come from nowhere. And I remember overhearing Rosa once, talking about how Vincent always takes care of his people. Emma's throat tightened. Sophia, there are things about my past, about how we survived those early years that are complicated. Vincent Castellano helped us when we had nothing. He protected us when we were vulnerable. I made choices that I'm not always proud of, but they kept you safe and fed and gave you opportunities. Was it illegal? Sophia asked directly. Emma shook her head. No, I never did anything illegal. But Vincent operates in a world that has gray areas. He helped me in exchange for my discretion and occasional small favors. Nothing dangerous. Nothing that compromised who I am. But yes, there's been an arrangement. Sophia was quiet for a long moment, processing. And now he wants to help me with my art career. Emma felt protective anger rise in her chest. You don't have to accept anything from him. Your talent is your own. You got into Northwestern on your own merit. You don't owe Vincent anything. But you do, Sophia said softly. Don't you? Emma met her daughter's eyes. I did. I'm not sure I do anymore. 5 years ago, Vincent saved our lives. He gave me a chance when no one else would. But I've worked hard, Sophia. I've built my career, paid my bills, raised you. At some point, debts get paid. I think we're even now. Sophia smiled slightly.